Hey guys, welcome back to What If Izuku Midoriya Was in FNAF Part 5. Today guys, well I gotta say, it's Izuku's last night on the job. Well, as it's Friday. And I gotta say, it's gonna be quite interesting tonight, I reckon. Well, for the future series, you will enjoy it, will be interesting. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed these videos I've been doing. And I hope you continue to enjoy them. Anyway, let's get into night 5, guys. Okay? We got to Izuku as he's walking towards the Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria. His mom had to drop him halfway there as she had business to do, and she had to visit his aunt Smiski, Bokugo's mother. He hadn't seen her for a long time, and neither had he seen Bokugo. He seemed to have, these last couple of months, left him alone at school. As he shook his head, he was brimming with energy. It was his last night of the week, and he completed the first week at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And which kept reminding him about this, is that he had the keys in his pocket for the restaurant in almost every door, as, well, Henry, his boss, was out of town on business. Which made him kind of feel proud in a way, you know? Out of all his employees, he picked him, the newest one. But it did kind of make sense. He was the night guard, so he did have to get in and out of the building every day. He shook his head as he approached the Freddy Fazbear's parking lot. As he looked at the building, knowing what was inside, considering that he may or may not have injured them yesterday and stole from them, hit them in panic, more really. Man, I got to be on my A game tonight. He looked down while clenching his fists. I can't let them get me. I made a promise to phone guy to find out what happened to him and get him out that suit in the back. Just hope after tonight I don't join him. As he started walking towards the door. As he was walking towards the door, he saw the janitor from the previous night. He found that it's the head janitor, Brody. For his age, he was really well. He seemed to be, 40s, tanned, and yellow hair. And quite muscular too. He always seemed to have this pink shirt on as well, with these white trousers. He thought he'd seen him somewhere before, but, you know, he couldn't really guess where. As he approached him, he saw, man, they're getting angsty today. But before he could continue talking, he saw Izuku approaching him. Oh, hey, kid. He waved towards him. Ready for your last day of the week? As he gave him a smile. Yes, I am, sir. Ah, good to know. Anyway, well, I'm going to leave it to you, kid, yeah? I'll see you Monday, as he waved towards him as he approached his car. You too, Mr. Brody? Good kid, as he shook his head. As Izuku walked into the pizzeria and locked the doors behind him, as he put the keys on his belt and pulled out and walked towards the dining room, he saw the animatronics. And as he was walking towards his office, he could feel their eyes. He could feel their eyes boring a hole right through his back, seemingly trying to make him cease to exist by looking at him, which he was quite glad didn't happen. As he scratched the back of his head with sweat slowly dripping down his forehead, he really did realise he's in it tonight. They weren't going to be holding back against him like the other nights. He'd really annoyed them with what he did yesterday. As he sat down in his office chair, hang on. Mr. Johnson's power key. Sorry, guys. As he sat in his security room, looking towards all of his monitors, which he had to be surprised, even these last nights, were still working completely fine. Or at least he thought so, as they've been doing a good night prior. As he looks at the missing towards the missing place of a monitor, man, Declan went. As he looked down towards his desk, he saw where his fan would have been. Oh, yeah. As he scratched his head, as he got a flashback of how he directly threw the fan at Chica. Oh, I think I have a feeling Foxy and Chica ain't going to be happy with me tonight. As he patted his face, trying to psych himself up for tonight. As he was doing this, his watch beeped. It had turned 12. And he looked towards his desk on the right and he saw the phone. It was flashing. It was the same thing happened when Phone Guy left him a message. So he's obviously been given one, but he heard what happened to Phone Guy. It couldn't have possibly been him. As he used his swivel chair and moved forward, he clicked the button. And he listened. Izuku, wide-eyed from hearing that from the phone, he turned it off, slowly standing up from his wheelchair and backing away. The night had just begun and seemingly he's already been scared. As he wondered who that could have possibly been, he started hearing footsteps in the pizzeria. As he looked towards his phone. He looked down at. Could that have been him? Is that Phone Guy? No, that couldn't have been him. Seemingly lost in his own world until he regained a semblance of clarity, he sat down, picking up his pad. I won't let that happen to me. I refuse to. As he's saying this, he switches on his cameras. As he went to the show stage, he saw all the animatronics were seemingly unmoving. Bonnie, dead-eyed. Chica as well, with same as Freddy, all looking forward. Which he is very glad for. As if they're not moving, that means his good eyes knows where all they are. That means he always knows where he could possibly run to. The left hallway was the most deadliest in his own personal opinion. He's only seen Chica in the right. But Foxy and Bonnie, they've always gone to the left hallway, the closet as well. Which, honestly, he didn't think would be a smart place to go as well. You know. At least I gotta say, I would probably be scared to go to. If you catch my drift, guys. As he slowly starts going through the cameras, trying to observe his surroundings. Hang on guys. As he gets cycling through the camera, he went back to the show stage and Chica was gone. Knowing her usual pattern, he went through the restroom camera and he found her, alright? He found her there. And if Chica's normal place, that means they've already started moving. It's only 12:30 and Chica's already started in the restrooms. They seem to be energized tonight. As he kept flashing, Bonnie was in the left hallway. The kitchen was empty too. Well, not like he could even see in the kitchen, but he didn't hear any noise from there. So that was the closest he was going to get. As he going for the camera, it turned 1. Chica wasn't in her usual place anymore, not in the restrooms either. As he went through to the main dining room, he found their locations. Bonnie and Chica have already made their way there. It had only just turned 1 a.m. And well, they're already there. Thank you seeing this. We're slowly shaking. Hang on, guys. Man, they're a lot more active, ain't they? This really is no joke, as he wiped his brow. He took a deep breath. No need to worry about it. As he looked down, he had 85 power. That should... it's already at 185. Should last me. Should. Keyword. As he kept flashing between the cameras, Freddy didn't seem to be moving as normal, but he was honestly starting to ponder if Freddy was broken, but considering what he did last night, he didn't think so for long. He just knew it was a matter of time before Freddy slowly started trying to make his way to him like the other animatronics. Well, when he means others, I think he's trying to imply Chica and Bonnie, because there's no way he's talking about Foxy when he's slow. As it turned to, the animatronics seemed to be idle. They haven't moved from the dining room. He was yawning. The night prior, he was still quite shaken, so he didn't get that much of a nice sleep. Man, as he rubbed his eyes, I could really go for a nap right about now. Foxy, as he looked, which he had totally forgotten about after briefly rubbing his eyes, Foxy seemed to be about to run towards him. As he checked the cameras, Foxy was fully out of his cove, his whole body exposed. And Izuku, considering that he did the most damage to him that day, he wasn't happy to see what it'd be like. Foxy, seemingly around the same height as Bonnie, most of his padding and suit all torn up, and he seemed to have an extra hole from the night prior from when he made him slip on himself. Izuku, seeing this, didn't know what to do, except just be prepared. He'd only just turned 2:30 and Foxy was already about to sprint towards his door. But Izuku seen an opportunity as he slowly saw Foxy go into a sprinting position. A couple minutes later, he heard it. Foxy had sprinted down his hallway, almost at max speed, or at least what used to be humanly possible. As he slowly made his way down, as he quickly sprinted down the left hallway, Izuku's plan sprung into action. Izuku hid where Foxy would normally look through the glass window. Which actually, no, sorry guys, that's where Bonnie would normally be. He hid under it, with his chair behind him. As Foxy was ever approaching, he kept hearing the massive metal thumps clanking and clanking and clanking against the ground. Foxy, seeming even faster than usual, seemed to have some anger behind him, backing it up. Which he really couldn't blame him, considering he made him slide all across the walls yesterday. But you know what? He didn't want to die or find out about his wrath from Foxy, especially with that pirate hook of his. As Foxy used his hook to swing into the office by using it on the door frame, he saw something that kind of surprised him. He didn't see anyone at all. The night guard should have been here. He saw him walk by the left hallway, which he always prefers to go down for some reason. Maybe because it is one of the furthest places away from the animatronics. Yeah, he could understand that. What he saw though was nothing except a chair with a cupcake in it. The damn cupcake! You recognise the cupcake. It was the same one as Chica's, which she normally held in her left hand. But this wasn't the same one. There's usually one in the security office. Why would he place it there? He heard what happened to Chica the night prior. She got a fan to the face and her cupcake stolen, and then locked out. As Foxy slowly started approaching the chair, cautious of the surroundings, not wanting to have the same trip up for what happened last night, as he approached it, something happened which he honestly would never suspect. Izuku, with his belt, which he usually has his flashlight, keys, wrapped his belt around Foxy's neck and pulling him outside the security room. Normally, this wouldn't really be happen, but considering that Foxy still had his hook, attached to the doors, wasn't really in a good position right now. With all the extra added weight of Izuku and an extra man with Foxy's metal frame, he swung backwards, which in Izuku's eyes looked like he's about to be squished by an animatronic, but with honestly, he's quite with a dodging skill he developed after years of trying to evade Kacchan, his best friend Bakugo. He dived directly to the left, delving right between Foxy's legs as his legs went right upwards again, diving to the security office and slamming the door. This, after Foxy got up, was infuriating to him. Which honestly, guys, I don't really blame him. But what do you expect? You've been duped twice now by what? The same guy? The same kid? Foxy, removing the damn belt, in his mind was screaming, "The damn night guard!" Truly and utterly infuriated, he started smashing at the door. Izuku seeing this looked like his pad, and the power slowly depleted. It went from a nice 80 to a 71. Foxy's hits brought it down 9 power. Oh man. Seeing this, Izuku, after waiting a couple minutes, Foxy had stopped and returned back to his cove, which he was glad for. It just had turned 4 a.m. No, 3 a.m. Yep, guys, sorry, 3 a.m. Izuku, now lacking a belt, had to do his fly and up buttons a lot tighter than usual, but it was worth it. At least to get a little payback on Foxy. He gave a small smile, even if it was quite stupid of him considering that he's probably trying to gouge his eyes out. As he kept flicking through the cameras, Bonnie seemed to be gone from the dining room, which surprised him. Well, didn't really surprise him, as he hadn't been able to check him thanks to Foxy. As he kept flicking through the cameras, he went to he checked where Bonnie usually might have been, which was the supply closet. He usually seemed to enjoy looking towards him. He didn't know why, but he did know he somehow he always seemed to find a way to get into the closet, even if it was locked for some reason. He didn't hear any breaking, and every time he walked past it, he didn't see anything forced, so he just had this magical way of getting into the closet, which didn't really surprise him. Chica, he heard, was in the kitchen since 3:30. Bonnie had showed up at his door multiple times this night, but he had to keep turning the powers on and off. Same for Chica, but a usual routine. And in that span of 1 hour, his power went from 71 all the way to a very dangerously low 30. He didn't understand how, but his power seemed to be dwindling faster than usual. Maybe someone forgot to refill the generator properly, or maybe the AA batteries this building's obviously ran on and starting to get a little low on juice. But this was worrying. He still had 2 hours left, and he was only just about in the 30s. Which he's never ever been this low before. Well, except from the first night, but he wasn't really in any danger back then. Except because, Bonnie only moved on the first and second. But of an added sense of desperation slowly enveloping him as he kept trying through the cameras. Izuku realizing that his constant flickering has obviously been draining the powers more and more. Him deciding that it's just a dumb idea in general to keep using the camera, even if he knows all their points. He put the camera down as he talked to himself. I've already memorized everything else about this. I just need to use my ears and hear for Foxy. Chica and Bonnie, I can spot with the lights out front. But I still have to be careful about Freddy. Who knows when he'll start appearing. Little did Izuku know, the second he stopped using his cameras, Freddy seemed to hear this in some weird way and just know. Which I don't even know how, but he knew he wasn't being watched anymore. With this, Freddy using his silent steps, which he didn't know he knew of, which he honestly didn't know how it is possible, but hey, the steps are quiet. Maybe it's the padding in the feet, he always wondered. He slowly started making his way through the pizzeria. Each step slowly bringing the impending doom of the night guard. Little did he know at the time. Chica, seemingly content being in the kitchen, the scared of the night guard, and slowly gone up the left hallway. She never stayed too long, always just losing interest. Foxy, his sense not the night guard, was still in the second stage. But Bonnie, he's out the doors almost every hour. Had just turned 5. His power had slowly dropped down to 14%. Izuku seeing this thought, only 1 hour, 40%. Man, I've got this. Seemingly getting a new sense of hope. Don't worry, phone guy. I'll find you. I promise. As if for Wade, using his promise as a way to motivate him to keep going. Izuku used this. You ain't gonna get me, you big buckets of bolts. He laughed to himself. But him hearing this, he started hearing sounds. Gurgling? He didn't know. But little did he know, something ominous, supernatural was getting involved with him. Instead of having his 14% he had earlier, he had a measly 8%, he screamed out. How? It was just 14 a minute ago? As he looked towards Bonnie and Chica. Both his doors were sealed at this point. Chica suddenly appearing on his right, he slammed the doors, which obviously sealed them. As he kept using his lights to try and scare them away, it was fruitless. As he looked down towards his watch, it was 5:20. As he looked around, looking for anything that he could use probably to defend himself, as his power slowly dwindled as he looked down closer to it. Every 10 minutes it kept dropping again and again. And they refused to leave. But when he hit 3% power, both Bonnie and Chica went away. He couldn't risk using the cameras to see where they went. But he didn't hear Foxy either. He would have expected him to charge by now and drain the rest of his power. But I should have more power than this. Where could it have gone? Him seeing that he did lose 14% of his power, he should have had at least 6 left, a plus with the 3 he had. He would have had 11 power still? It didn't make sense. Maybe someone was draining it. He would have to try and look into this next week when he started again. But when he was distracted, he didn't notice something. On the left side of his door, he was being watched. And on his right, he was being watched too. There were 2 bears. He didn't notice the one on the right though. This one seemed to be golden. It was missing an ear. It was sitting down, its head barely looking over the window. Izuku seemingly not noticing it. Its colour was golden, but not a nice vibrant gold. No, it was old. Obviously, it hasn't been taken care of, but it's withered in a way. But on his left is what Izuku did notice. It was Freddy. How could he have not noticed him moving already? Damn you animatronics and your damn quiet steps! He slammed his fist on his desk. How could I not notice this? But before he could continue, the worst sound he could have possibly heard happened. He heard the doors shrieking upwards. And he looked down at his chart. He saw a battery icon with power left 0. The 0 icon representing how much his power. It was gone. There's nothing left. His power was all gone. As Izuku sat down, all lights gone, the security office, the monitors all turned off. He looked over to his left and he saw him, the main star, Freddy Fazbear, his eyes glowing with light, his only source of light. And he started to hear a lullaby, which was similar to his iconic song he sang on stage. It slowly started. And Izuku, afraid to run, considering that the right door, he could dive out there, but it was just too risky. He was obviously about to get jumped by Freddy, but at that door there could be Bonnie, Chica, maybe Foxy, all three of them. His mind flashes back to the time on his 4th of yesterday night, when he heard the phone guy's last words, when all the animatronics were banging on his door making sounds, and he obviously got jumped by them too. So he couldn't bring himself to try and live that fate. Izuku, in his chair, backing away from Freddy, furthest he could in his security room. As he slowly started gathering up the courage to charge up the right, he saw it. He saw a golden animatronic sitting down, its head twitching, looking towards him. Izuku, seemingly having both routes blocked off, slid against the wall in the corner as he slowly heard Freddy's song slowly getting near to the end. Is this it? Is this how I die? His memories flashing. From being told by All Might he couldn't be a hero, being bullied by Kacchan, his best childhood friend, which he's starting to see that he wasn't really a good friend. But he was his only friend. His mum, his dad, which he never saw, but he heard from his mum. As he looked down, his eyes being filled with tears, he got to a realization. He was going to die. As Freddy's song neared to the end, he thought to himself, I'm sorry, phone guy. I'm sorry. I couldn't survive. As he clenched his fist, tears streaking down his face. And he realized he failed the person he promised he would help. He failed his mentor, his predecessor. But before he closed his eyes for one final time, his left wrist vibrated. It was his watch. It was beeping. It just turned 6. As Freddy saw this, the lights turned back on, seemingly from another source of power. And Freddy looked towards Izuku, and Izuku looked back. He saw his watch. He started beeping. As Izuku hearing this, he pulled up his sleeve and he saw the 6 a.m. signature flashing, and he heard ding, 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 ding. And he heard hoorays from his watch. It's 6 a.m.? It's 6 a.m. Suddenly being filled with adrenaline and enthusiasm, he shouted at the top of his voice, laughing, It's 6 a.m. As he shouted, as his head turned towards Freddy, whose eyes seemingly lost their glow. And as he turned around and marched towards the stage, which he heard from all over the animatronics have all returned to their stage. After putting his hand on his heart, his chest was absolutely beating. It was pounding. He's never been this scared in his life. Not when he thought he went up against that villain and tried to save Kacchan. Not even when he was hundreds of feet in the air, grabbed onto All Might's leg. He's never felt so scared, thrilled, overjoyed and excited in his entire life. As Izuku gathered his bearings and stood up, he peeked his head out the right door and he saw the golden animatronic from before, which was reminiscent looking like Fredbear, was gone. It seemingly disappeared. Which he just chalked up to them being quiet as usual. They seemed to have some supernatural invisible steps he heard. As Izuku sat down and laughed to himself, he picked up his belt, which had been discarded by Foxy after being incredibly shredded, and walked towards the door. As he walked down the right hallway, all the memories his last week has been flushing towards his head from night 1 to 5. All the events, the phone calls. And as he approached the door, looking at Brody in it, as he saw Brody standing outside with others cleaners, he turned towards Freddy and the gang. He gave them a shaky smile and he said, better luck next week. With those final words, he approached the door and unlocked it. And well guys, that's the end of part 5. Hope you enjoyed it, yeah? And I hope to see you in the next one. So, see you guys.